folks joining. I know yesterday we had about 350 people in here regularly. So Danny and Matt, no pressure. We're going to be piggybacking off of yesterday's conversation. Yesterday was all about sales and pricing. We had Mr. Jason Drews and Sam Gimbel on this thing. Those guys did a phenomenal job. This afternoon, we're going to be talking a little bit more about building a people plan and training. And we got Danny and Matt, and I'll let them give their introduction here in just a quick second. But just a little bit of a housekeeping. We're still, learning as we continue to do this as well. I always joke that the inmates are in charge of the prison this week. So that being said, just a quick housekeeping. If you guys have any questions, throw it in the Q&A portion down below. You can put general conversation right in the chat, and I love to banter with you guys. I'm going to try to answer some questions as we go as well. But the questions that we hope to queue up to Matt and Danny through their discussion today and their presentation today, and then also at the last 10 minutes of today's webinar, those will come from the Q&A. So two different spots on the Zoom chat and the Zoom questions, just so you guys know if this is your first rodeo. All things being said, we're really excited to have you guys. If you guys are have not been on the webinar just yet or were here yesterday, this is the Snow and Tell webinar series. It's all things snow this week. We know that the weather is quickly changing, at least here in the Midwest. In Michigan, we're getting those frosty mornings and 45, 50-degree afternoons. So snow is on the horizon and in the forecast, if you will. So it's a very timely conversation. And today we've got two of the best to help us out with the people conversation, and that is Matt and Danny. And so first things first, before I jump into it, I just got to say, big fan of the Breakthrough Academy. I've seen a lot of their trainings, webinars, and Zooms online. I've got to see them at a couple different trade shows. I think SIMA a year or two ago as well. I was part of one of their courses and classes. Again, those guys always, what do they say, under promising, over delivering. So great content, great peer groups and banter there. And then we've got Matt Crinklaw bringing up the LMN side of the conversation today, as well with Greenius. So that platform is something we're adopting right now as we speak, not only for lawn, but definitely going into snow. And we're gonna have those online training courses and e-learning ready to go by next spring. So we're joined today by the who's who. I'm very, very excited about having both of these guys on today. So that being said, I'm honored to host this with you guys. You'll probably hear me banter in a little bit here and there, but I'm going to give these guys the stage and let them take it away. So let's do this really quick. Let's do introductions. Danny, I'll kick it over to you if you want to give everybody your full background, and then we'll hear a little bit more from Matt, and we'll jump on into this thing today.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Danny Kerr. I've been in contracting since I was 18 years old. So started actually in the painting industry. I've definitely had my fair share of seasonal businesses. This painting thing was definitely we were all exterior. So we was basically the opposite to you guys in snow, but we would basically have to hit the ground running in May till August. And that was definitely a challenge. So we're gonna talk a lot about that today. But yeah, spent 10 years running a painting company, then transitioned into training. And for a couple of years saw this industry as, I guess, one that not many people did a good job of. Like there was not a lot of good business development training offered. So we started Breakthrough Academy in 2015, me and two business partners. We all came from this painting world that we were in. It was actually a franchise that we're all in. And we thought, how do we bring franchise level systems to an industry where we're not going to sell a franchise, but we're going to give them the support and help for that. So we've been doing, it's called Breakthrough Academy. We've been doing it for 10 years. We've worked with about 1,900 companies at this point, all in contracting. And we've really started to see the patterns of what works and what doesn't when it comes to designing and organizing the growth of an organization in the trades. So we will get into some of that today, but that's where I come from. That's where I roam.
Love it. Love it. Matt, a lot of folks know you. You're everywhere these days. You're on the speaking circuit, working on the trade shows as well, and making a huge difference out there in people's businesses. Training and people training. It's one of the most relevant conversations, especially my business as well. As we continue to grow, I'm realizing what the real bottlenecks are, and that's something that's your area of expertise. So what's your background, brother?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry now for 18 and a half years, and Greenius was really founded inside a large landscape company. So I came from the tech world, and before I spent 1 minute building Greenius, I needed to learn what it was like to be a landscaper. So I worked on a maintenance crew, then I switched over to a design build crew, and then from there we started building Greenius. And really over the last 18 years, I've really seen some huge improvements in employee retention. We've helped customers now. Some of them it's unbelievable, but I've seen some get up to 95, 96% employee retention, even offering snow. And I'm just excited to share some of the strategies and techniques these companies are using to achieve those high numbers and just help as many people as we can.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, again, super excited about having both of these gentlemen on today. By the way, Danny, you're getting some great compliments on your hairline. Maybe both of you guys, actually, based on the comments. So we'll talk a little snow. We'll talk a little bit about your guys' morning routine, right? One of those deals, but I love it. First off, I was going to say, before we jump into it, little roll call, man. I'd love to hear where everybody is coming on in from. If you guys want to leave in the chat where you guys are from. Yesterday, there's a bunch of folks from the same area, and I saw a side conversation. All those guys started networking, to start working with each other on snow. It was actually a really fun conversation. 3 guys happened to be in the same area of town of New York. It's one of those Spider-Man photos where everybody kept pointing at each other, right? So, all things being said, love seeing where everybody's coming from. Kentucky, Illinois. We got Daniel from Carlisle, PA. God Lord, everybody west side of the country. That's awesome. All right. Well, congratulations to all you guys for joining on. And again, big congratulations to all you guys that are making the investment to grow your business and to grow your education today. You guys saw the agenda earlier. This is day 2. We got a couple more days to go after this. You will get the live webinar recording and everything by the time this is done. So maybe if you're on a mower or in the truck or you're taking a quick little cheat sheet and you're going to the gym, no worries. We're going to record this for you and get this all to you guys in a very timely fashion. So you guys can see the rest of the week just so we got it. Day 3 is snow, equipment, and labor. Day 4, women leading snow operations. Very excited about that. We got some great folks that are going to be sharing from their perspective, from the ladies' perspective. I know my wife's opinion is one of the secret weapons to why we've made it as far as we have. And then day 5, we're going to do a great panel, talk about the Storm playbook. And that's going to be a little bit of a round robin and a little free for all, right? So all things being said, if you guys are enjoying yesterday's session, today's session, every session is going to be unique in the value it brings. But I just want to let you guys know that every day, 2 to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday is where we're at. So all things being said, great introduction here. And let me do this. I'm going to yield to Danny and Matt to kick it off. So Danny, take it away, brother.
Okay, sounds good. Actually, also a quick question in the chat because I see where everyone's from. How many of you were up late last night watching the game? Because that thing went almost 7 hours. Yeah.
I heard.
The East Coast, I had some of my people on my team, they're like, I'm sorry, but I have to call in sick tomorrow. And I was like, I know exactly what's going on.
Love it, love it.
Cool. So we've got a pretty packed session. We're going to get through 4 topics or 3 main topics and then one on just how to implement these things. But I'm going to try and cover the gamut with you guys on how to structure your organization so you've got really good people and really good roles. You've got a battle plan for hiring and training and developing them, because I think, as probably a lot of you know, this season is a ramp-up season, and it's actually curious. Tell me in the chat, how many of you operate year-round? So you have like a landscaping portion of what you do and snow, and how many are just snow? Give me kind of like a landscaping plus snow or just snow. So both year-round, bunch of year-rounds. So either way, okay, good. A lot of year-rounds and okay, cool. So either way, a lot of us have is this like ramp up into snow that we have to use our existing team for, and or we need to recruit, train, and operate a new team. And we'll get into kind of what that takes to do. To help with a lot of this, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of resources. So we're going to talk about goal setting. We're going to talk about organizational structure, employment agreements, recruiting tactics, and we'll give you a little template on each of these so you can use them in the business after the webinar, which helps. This is just a really brief overview of what we do as a company, but essentially today we're going to talk about 3 of these sections. We're going to talk about why you would want to define a role, obviously, before you go hire for it. Then we're going to talk about hiring for those roles, and then we're going to talk about training and onboarding. So bring those people into a scenario where they can learn the job and get operational fairly quickly. So that is kind of the plan. So question in the chat, what are the biggest people problems you guys have? Is it finding someone to do the work? Is it retaining them? Is it getting them to hit goals and be productive? Is it team culture? What are the things that are kind of like, I guess, the bottleneck or causing issues for the organization when it comes to the people? So we've got hitting goals, team culture, and keeping motivation. Yeah. Finding A players. I get it. Finding recruitment. Yeah. Accountability. Cool. So I'll cover a little bit of all of this, right? Culture, right fit. Yeah, that's a big one, Kim. So we'll talk about that in recruiting, finding accountability. Okay, cool. So I have probably more slides than we need, but I will go through a little bit of all of this as we discuss today. So first thought, is we need to define the roles that we're actually looking for, right? And the biggest thing I would say on this, before you even get to like, what does everybody even do? I would look at your capacity requirements. How many of you do something like this, where you actually look at how much revenue you want to produce in a given period of time and how many labor hours that will require, and then start to discover how many hours per week you need, and then discover how many people you need to manage those people's hours and so on. How many of you ever built something like this in the past? Give me like a yay or an A on this. So this is just a simple calculator, and I think you guys will get something like this, but you can see, this is just an example file. You can play around with it, right? You can be like, okay, we're going to go produce whatever, $3 million. We're going to go for an average charge rate. Now, to get your average hourly charge rate, you're going to want to go through total revenue produced in that category. Let's call it snow right now, divided by total labor hours worked in the field last season. And you're going to get an average hourly rate. It's not just what you charge the customer per hour, because sometimes there's other costs associated, rentals, stuff like that. You just want to see how much revenue your people produce per hour that they work. So put this, say at 110, and you'll watch as it automatically adjusts the year depending on, or sorry, the weeks, depending on what you put in here. Put in 4 million, and you see all these numbers start to move. What's nice is, what I'd recommend doing is, you don't just have like a straight shot every week's the same. You start to look at seasonality, when things usually ramp up and ramp down. You can see that usually on your previous year to get a gauge. I know that snow is variable, but this now tells you, okay, we need 218 hours worked in January. We need 636 in February. And you can start to see your capacity requirements for the people you need to go after. So that's kind of the first step to a lot of this. And I think we're going to give you a little calculator on this as well, so you can play around with that thing. With that, how many of you build an org structure? So I think a lot of us do this. We start to think through, okay, to man all those people, we need to have someone managing them. Potentially, I even need to have a manager managing the managers, whatever. Depends how big your organization is. But we need to start to think through, what are the numbers that each person needs to deliver on to be worth their role, and who needs to report to who, right? Because if you have 20, 30, 40 technicians out in the field, they can't all be managed by one person, right? So how many people do you need leading these crews? What a lot of people do is they'll build an org structure of like who reports to who, which I think is the first step, and who does what. One thing we teach is like who delivers on what. So if you look at the numbers I just calculated, I can figure out how many hours a laborer needs to produce. I can see how much a crew leader needs to produce in revenue. I can see how much a production manager needs to produce and how much profit they need to make, and start to set those targets for your leadership team all the way down to your technician day in and day out. So I don't know, Matt or Brian, any thoughts on this? You guys have played around with this, but the idea of going by number versus by task. You guys ever played around with this before?
I haven't. It's really interesting to think about it that way. I really like this.
One thing that I love right now, a lot of folks that are utilizing the LMN, platform, part of today's conversation, and again, not a pitch for LMN, but I'll just say, as we set next year's budget, one of my coaches is saying, hey, let's build next year's org chart, right? And then work our way backwards. And it kind of goes hand in hand. So I love the way this is presented. And by the way, a lot of questions, Danny. This may be available for a resource after, it looks like. A lot of folks are asking for it.
Yeah, I think we're going to give this org structure example, and I think that calculator as well should be in that download resource package. Sam, you can check, make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's in there. But yeah, what this allows us to do is not just like make a gut feel. We can actually calculate like what is the capacity requirement. And given that, oh crap, I need one more manager hired. And you suddenly realize I'm going to overburden my managers by hiring this many staff. You can plan for that way in advance just by looking at the numbers. And what's nice is once you've figured out those numbers, you actually kind of figure out what the ROI by role actually needs to be. And so you can clarify that. Instead of just hiring a bunch of people to take on a bunch of tasks, everyone can have a clarity on what we call like a deliverable is, what their clear, measurable, tangible result is for being an employee for the organization, which allows you, we'll get into it later, but to give them more of an ROI for their work because you can measure it. So that's the first concept. Plan out your capacity requirements and then start to build your org structure based on those numbers. When you've done that, you want to tie those numbers into the employment agreements themselves. So this is another template we'll give you guys, but this is an employment agreement that's based on deliverables. So it's a little different than just like a legal agreement of like, you'll be employed by us, we will pay you, you will have these labor standards. It's actually based in deliverables. So you as this is for a crew lead, need to obviously bring in things on scope and schedule. So meet the daily expectations of the completed work. So basically whatever's contracted out, it's done on time and on budget. Client satisfaction must be above 90%. Administrative items must be completed by the end of the week. And you need to maintain a 3 out of 5 on your comp models on your skill development level, right? So that person knows of everything that I need to go do in my job. This is the stuff that actually matters. This is the stuff that I know if I'm doing and I'm hitting, I'm bringing an ROI to the organization and I'm worth my weight. But if I'm not doing it, we have some discussions, and that's where training can kick in. And that's where we can start to really decipher between the subjective view of I'm doing my job to the objective view of you're hitting your numbers or you're not. So,
and I just want to call out, this is a really good point, because I'm hearing a lot from contractors out there that the cost of living is going up more and more, and employees are coming in and just saying, hey, I want a raise. And just because bread is more expensive and rent's gone up, I deserve a raise, versus having these key deliverables mapped out. It's like, okay, well, you want a raise. Well, here's 5 metrics I need you to go and achieve. And when you achieve those metrics, we can talk about a performance increase.
yeah, maybe in the chat, how many of you are working for a company? If this isn't your business, you get paid a salary, you get paid hourly. How many? Just give me a yay or nay on this one. Because I'll give you one thought, and I own BTA and I have the same thing. My team has been hit hard by the cost of living, right? And it's been a real deal over the last few years. The best conversation you can have is not how to, like, can I get paid more? It's how do I bring more value so that I can get paid more? Because for an owner of a business, like, I would love to pay my people as much as I possibly can. I just have to make economic sense of it. And if you can sit down and have that conversation, that's a really neat one to have, because it's like, we're on a team together. I need to afford XYZ thing, and you need to have the ability to afford me. How do we bring more value to my role? And how can I bring them?
Yeah, and Danny, really quick, I was just going to chime in. I love this kind of conversation. I'm learning more as we grow our organization. One of my coaches says, you got to know or let folks know what good looks like. And anybody ever feel like when you're working at an organization, the goalposts keep getting moved and you're like, what is this arbitrary thing on bonus? What is this arbitrary thing on whether I'm in the owner's good graces or not, right? And that's something that I've had to think about to myself. I'm like, well, we just make tall grass short. We put snow from here to there. Yeah, but what about the rest of the deliverables? Like, let's quantify this, not just in the job description, but like you said, the deliverables of, hey, if I was to succeed at this role, what would that look like end of year, right? So this is, I'm eating this up. I love this.
Good. There was a question in the chat around, like, do we have to then change the agreement every year if we change the deliverables? What we do internally anyways, is we have the deliverables listed as you have to hit the target. And then we say reference Schedule B. And then Schedule B is the bonus package and the operational like numbers they need to achieve. And then Schedule B gets updated every year. So it keeps the agreement steady. So, okay, so that's kind of the first piece of the agreement. Then within that, there's something called deliverables. Now, this is what a lot of people would be kind of, I guess, maybe familiar with, is like the tasks of somebody's job. Right? So what are all the things that somebody needs to do to hit scope and schedule? What are all the things that somebody needs to do to hit that 90% customer satisfaction rate? So within those numbers, here's now the actual responsibilities of the individual. And it's important, obviously, to list those for all the things we just talked about, versus having just like a blank employment agreement that everybody signs that's exact same. It's like, this is specific to you, and these are the things you're in charge of. If any of these metrics are off or you're missing goals, let's go look at your responsibilities and see where you could be hitting or missing. And again, this primes training, this primes improvement in certain areas. Because one thing I've always noticed with people, if numbers are off, people aren't hitting, it's often due to skill or commitment. Both of them can be addressed, but in different ways. So that's the next piece to this. Then from there, we need to talk about reporting. So who do you report to? Oops. Who do you report to? What do you report on? And how often are you reporting in? Right? Because if you don't put this in, I find a lot of people on Fridays are like, I don't need to do numbers. It's not my job. I'm just going to go home. So to keep track of all these metrics and to keep track of your performance at some level, you need to have a way to report in on how you're doing. And then finally, there needs to be a payback for this, right? So I get my hourly rate, but what's in it for me to hit these targets? And so you need to go back to your deliverables, the numbers you're trying to have them achieve, and think through what the bonus structure should be, but it should be directly tying to the deliverables you're requesting of that person. Matt, Brian, any thoughts, questions on this?
Yeah, I would love to chime in on this. Something I learned recently at a seminar was you can't enforce consequences without being able to measure how that employee is doing. And you can't do that unless you set out clear targets and goals at the beginning, right? And so you can't have a corrective action report or a write-up or frankly, just a conversation with somebody to improve if we're not measuring along the way, And so consequences are, at the end, but you have to have all this established at the beginning. And again, as we build a more formal organization, this stuff, again, is absolutely speaking right to home. So
yeah, and what I find is people are busy, right? Crew leaders are trying to get the job done. So what this forces is check-ins. So people have those conversations, they can address items that need fixing that are at the bottom of the list. They keep meaning I'll get to that next week. But when you have a formal check-in and reporting checkpoint, for lack of a better word, you're just going to have those conversations sooner instead of letting them linger.
I'll say this too, like our generation wants to be coached. They want to be better.
100%.
They want to feel like they're a part of something and see where they can actually contribute. And it's this mechanism that starts that conversation where it's like, you know, not only are these numbers here and your bonus packages here, but I'm also here to help you hit your goals. Like as a leader of my organization, my goal is not to go hit the business goals, to help all my people hit their goals. Because guess what? If I help them hit their goals, the company will by default hit its goals. And that's a great thing for a manager to feel too, where it's like, I don't have to worry about myself. I have to worry about my team and help each one of them perform at their best to achieve their targets, to get to their best ability to hit their bonus package, whatever it is. And by default, I will hit mine.
Yeah, I was reading a survey recently and I was shocked to see feedback was outranking salary in importance to employees. So feedback was number one and salary was number two. So it's really important.
So Matt, I'll say this. So back at College Pro Painters years ago, this company I used to work at, I've had about 150 staff at any given time. And we would recruit most of those seasonally. It's quite the recruiting gig. But I found when I'm recruiting and I'm hiring people, the number one thing for them, once they got first thing I'll say this, their number one important thing was pay up until the point where they could pay their bills. And if they were a saver, usually save about 10%. That was the most important thing. But once you hit that, it was all this other stuff. And wage was just like, because it's where they're spending 40 hours a week of their time. And it's just like, do you actually have the ability to hit those needs for those people? All right. Matt, you got some stuff here, which I think is really important to go along with this.
So it really supports what you're saying is once you've defined the roles, map out how to move through the system. And I've seen companies reduce their turnover 20 to 40% by putting together a growth program at the company, printing it out on the wall, and then identifying where everyone is at in the process. So it shows you have a future at the company, it shows them a path forward, and it shows them everything they have to do to move through those levels. And it goes back to those key metrics you were talking about earlier. Each one of those can be part of this system here. And it's like, okay, here's how you go from a snow shoveler all the way up to an ops manager at our company. And here's all the steps you got to take to move through that process. And this is just a really key system to have to show people they have a future at your company versus the traditional. I mean, quite often you hear it's a dead end job, right? There's no future for me. So the turnover is like exaggerated versus having a career path and employee development program. It's just, we're seeing huge impacts on employee retention by rolling these out.
Especially when you do it right from the recruiting stage. They're in the recruiting process with you. They're looking at a role. You're showing them all the roles available and how they graduate over time. They're now in their mind already seeing how they can basically go through gamify this, go through this over time versus, great, I'm signing up for a job with you. It's like, this could be a career. And it creates a very different mindset, right? Going into I think we talked about expectations earlier. This is a massive expectation setter.
100%. And then on the next slide here,
well, hey,
what we can do
if I can just really quick interrupt, Matt. We had a great question come in from Ivy. They asked, when Danny was talking about the bonuses and some kind of financial reward, is that mostly for the sales team, or Danny, what do you think about that?
We have it for every single role, actually. So there's administrative bonuses for like delivering things on time. And actually collecting AR. There's production bonuses for producing a certain amount of revenue or hours, or if they're a manager of the team, hitting a gross profit on the jobs. And then there's sales bonuses, which are the easiest ones that we all know about. But I try and bonus everybody in the organization. The administrative ones are the toughest. I don't put a ton on that role. It's mostly about them just delivering and supporting the team. But you can do it with AR, and you can do it with having reports in on time, and they just get a little extra for what they do. So
what about anything like frontline, like attendance? You know, snow. We're going in the snow. Hey, if there's 20 events, you make 20 of them, you get a seasonal bonus in April, May, June, right? Something like that. Or you miss one, you get 90% of that. I've heard a lot of great conversation of stuff like that.
Yeah, you want to drive the behavior you're trying to influence, right? So it's usually quality, volume, and profit. They're usually the three things that a company cares about. So like quality could be very simple. It could just be like, there's no comebacks, there's no client complaints, or safety, no safety reports by end of season. Volume is, for a lot of the technicians, it's hours. It's how many hours you're producing, not working, producing. And in order to have that metric, you have to have an estimate on actual, like what you estimated for versus actual. And so they're always trying to beat they're always trying to beat the budget for hours versus what they actually work. And you can give them a little extra for the beating of that budget. And then profit, for these guys, is very similar because hours cost money. So if they're beating budget on those hours, you can give them a little snippet for that. So yeah.
Love that. Love that. All right, Matt, back to you, brother. We got some great questions, but I know we're going to cover those in the next couple of slides. But I see you guys' questions. If we don't get to them, I'll make sure to circle back on them. But we got you guys. All right, Matt, it's all you.
For sure. And just moving quick here, I just wanted to wrap up. Once you have everything defined, you can build those specific training paths in Greenius and just set it to the employee and then monitor them as they work through it. It's all video based. There's exams. You can take all your standard operating procedures, turn them into field checklists, and just take everything we've talked about to this point and really systemize it and ensure that kind of that tribal knowledge moves from person to person.
This is one of those projects that takes a lot of time, but once it's done, it serves for years and years.
Exactly.
And I think about this too, this idea of like doing things once well, right? So it's like, okay, how much am I investing in this? A lot of hours probably, but what's the cost of not doing it? What are all the hours I'm putting into correcting people and to managing all of the little bits that people mess up all the time? So we'll talk about this later about setting time to work on the business, but this is a huge piece.
Well, I will say this. No, they didn't ask me to say this, so somebody can send me $20 later. But Element obviously putting on this whole Snow and Tell webinar together. But if you guys have not taken a serious look at the Greenius platform, I highly, highly encourage you to do it. I'm actually in the process right now of creating our SOP training videos for our company because, as Mr. Sam Gamble said yesterday, it's sales and people, people and sales, and we need to make sure that we have a people pipeline ready to go. And there's still a couple weeks left in a lot of you guys' mowing season or just kind of tail end. There's plenty of time to get somebody that's fun and excited and can train on a video camera, even if it's on your iPhone and it's rudimentary. At least you got something for next year's spring for the maintenance season. And of course, through fall and winter, you can do all your leaf cleanup training videos, your snowplow training videos, et cetera, et cetera. But if you guys have not booked the demo with Greenius, I think we got some closing slides at the end and some fun promos there. Again, no pitch, but I will tell you, Matt and his team are doing big things with Greenius. So do not sleep on that. Matt's got all the stats and numbers to back it up of why training is so important. So I just had to mention that because we're doing it as we speak. So right there with you.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you, Brian.
I'm gonna go a little quicker to give us some time.
Yeah.
Let's get into recruiting. And make sure we have time for at the end, which is training. So in hiring, in the chat, let me know what part of hiring is the biggest problem. Is it getting qualified applicants? Is it getting to show up for that first interview? Is it knowing how to interview them and making a good judgment call on them? Is it getting them to actually commit and show up for their first day of training? What part of the recruiting funnel is what I call it, is the biggest issue? So qualified applicants, keep giving me some love. Let me know, because I've got so many things I could talk about this. Ideal candidate, yeah, get them to show up. Okay. So let's talk about this real quick. And I'm going to focus on this one side of the funnel because, again, we only have so much time. But in hiring, you do want to set up what is called a funnel. Like it's similar to a sales funnel where you want to go from ideal customer to, a setup or to a lead generated, to a setup call, to an estimate. Same idea, but for people, right? For hiring of people. So we need to start with this idea of an ideal candidate. So we get the right job posting made, so we can generate the right type of applicants, so we can know what we're looking for in our setup calls. We know what we're interviewing for in our interviews. And actually the big one, when we're finally making a selection, we're not just getting the best of 10 people that we interviewed that week. We can actually go back to the person we selected and say, does this fit the profile I originally wrote up? To keep myself objective, because all of us as interviewers are not, no matter what, we all have our own whatever biases. So within that first step is to set up this profile. So I often go look at the employment agreement that I drew up to review the responsibilities, the accountabilities, the deliverables, and start to say, who is this person? And my best bet is usually to identify a real person, somebody that works for me right now, has worked for me in the past, maybe somebody I know who's a friend or a friend of a friend in the industry, and take that person out for lunch, take them out for dinner, whatever it is, but start to ask them very specific questions to profile them. Right. So you want to look at things that are important for what you're looking for, which is their strengths, their weaknesses, their core values, their skill sets. But I think a lot of us will do that. I think where we often miss is what they're looking for, because we need to attract them. We need to speak their language, right? So what excites them about their role? What do they love about their job? What do they hate about their job? What gets them up in the morning? All that kind of stuff. And for me, it was like the first time I ever did this, it was a big kind of eye opener. I did this for a project manager of ours. And he got into things with like, I love that you set goals with me. I love that you hold me accountable to that and actually get bonuses for it. I love that you give me freedom and autonomy to drive crews in my own way. And I love the ability to kind of like improve my people and play the strategy on the field. And he kind of came down to this thought. He's like, I used to do this all the time as the captain of the football team in high school, but I get to now just do this in your painting company. And I realized even my ads didn't speak to any of this, right? They just spoke to like, be a project manager, drive company truck, competitive wage. I changed the whole thing. And the title suddenly said, need a quarterback to drive our teams. Looking for a coach more than a boss. Wish you had freedom and autonomy to drive crews in your own way. Love scoring touchdowns, but wish you actually got paid for them. Boy, do we have a job for you. Right. And I started to speak to my ideal candidate. I found for me, for project managers anyways, athletes, and then for laborers, farmers were amazing. And that was like, became a profile for me. And I'd use that in my ad sets and my questions and everything. And my ads looked different because they were based on a real human and what their deep language was, not just like my pitch of what I thought was a good wage or a cool experience, like they told me. So, Matt, Brian, any thoughts there?
No, I think this is really good. I'm in a few more slides. I share a sample job ad that contractors have a lot of success with around this. So I'll save more for that.
Well, I will just for time's sake, just I had to add, Danny, I love that. Yeah, I feel like you've been looking over my shoulder the last couple of years or something because all this is so relatable. But the job ads, right? And Matt's gonna get into it, but but just putting hiring snow laborer or shoveler, like many folks have said lately, like let's change that. Let's look to hiring an apprentice or a crew lead or a right hand. That's what the trades are known for. That language, right? And so when we're just saying laborer, what are you gonna get showing up to the front line? Well, if you can even get somebody to show up, and that's one of the questions about why we can't get anybody to show up, because a laborer to me is somebody working a warehouse job for 15 bucks an hour. And although that's not bad, and Lord knows I've done that too, I don't know if that's exactly what we're looking for, right? And so apprentice looks like there's a future, a career path, an opportunity to climb that ladder and a destination company to work for. So I love what you're saying, Danny.
Yeah, like, can we all agree to remove labor from our vocabulary and switch to technician and apprentice going forward? It'll change the industry for sure.
Yeah, when I see those job ads on Facebook, now looking for laborer, can lift 50 pounds, must be able to work 24/7. I'm like, dude, I don't want to apply for that job, and I do this industry. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
like when you quantify it that way, that sounds miserable. But fun environment, challenging conditions, career opportunity, training and advancement, great camaraderie. Like, oh, by the way, we pay well too. Like that's, in my opinion, how some of the job ads might need to shift. So great points.
And yeah, the only way you're going to know is listen to your people. Ask them, because they'll tell you. They'll tell you why they're there. And those answers are far more valuable than any assumption you could have ever made. So
there you go.
Yeah, we'll give you a template on this too. So it's actually just a walkthrough that'll help you think through their role and then help you identify what their needs are and help you identify what you're looking for. Equally as important is what you're looking for. So like, what traits should I be interviewing for? Actually, what personality traits should I be looking for? Like a technician, it's like usually tenacity, their ability to work hard, attainment, the preference to set and hit goals, because of what I just spoke about earlier. We're going to set goals with them on site, and then core values. And so I know those are the three things. I can go identify within my interview process those traits from the people that are interviewing. Cool. Just a good example, Sam, if you want to put a link in for them, one of our members, but Cabin has a really good recruiting page, and they've got a little video in there, and it's not super high budget actually. It's pretty simple, but it speaks to their ideal candidate. And they have their own employees speaking to why they're there, and testimonials, and a whole page committed to this that they drive traffic to over time with different ways of doing it. So yeah, check them out. There's also a little case study if you want to check them out as a company, but Sam, you put that in as well. Okay, there's so much I could talk to about with recruiting, but we'll keep moving for time. All right, next big thing.
Yeah, this one's one of our slides. I'm hearing it more and more that people have all the work they need at the moment, that it's the people problem that's really the barrier to growing their business. So they could grow by 10-20% over the next year if they really had the right people in place. So we're really focusing on trying to help our customers solve that problem. And if you can go to the next slide, I want to show an example of a sample job ad. So I actually Googled snow shoveler position in my area, and this was a job ad that came up. So I just cut and pasted. So I apologize if this person's on this call. I left names off of it, but the snow shoveler is responsible for the safe and productive removal of snow and ice from residential and commercial job sites, walkways, and traffic areas. Must be willing to be on call, work nights as needed, etc. Sounds like a dream job, right? Like we hear this all the time where I'm applying, I have this job out, no one's applying for it. We got no applicants. We pay really well, but no one's applying. And this is the ad that they're kind of complaining about. But if you switch it from a different perspective and go to the next slide, please. So show a career. So show how you go from a snow shoveler to a maintenance crew. So get set for an awesome career journey with us. Our shovelers are more than just snow experts. They're destined for greatness. Picture this: as winter ends, our top shovelers get special training and promoted to our incredible maintenance teams in the spring. But that's not all. We love celebrating success. Brace yourself for a pay raise in your new maintenance role. Once you're on the maintenance team, you'll learn new skills. And then from there, you could become a crew leader. Basically, your career adventure awaits. Let's shovel our way to success together. It's showing people that this is your foot in the door, and we're a great company. We celebrate growth. We have a great culture, and just apply, start here, and we'll show you how to become and grow and get to higher wages and ultimately a great career in landscaping, which is an awesome career, right? It's a great industry to be in. I've met some of the best people, and that's why I've put in 18 years here. It's just an awesome industry to be in. So I just want everyone to feel like that.
Awesome.
Martin McCabe said, where do I apply for that business and that company? Amen. If you guys struggle with these or to make compelling job descriptions, there's a lot of free and fantastic resources out there. Breakthrough Academy's got a bunch. Element has a bunch in the documents, resources, part of your account for free, like already ready to go. Leanscaper folks have a bunch of great stuff, and good old Chat GPT. Hey, Chat, make this a compelling job ad that somebody would want to work for. Just talk to it back and forth, and it'll come up with some great lists. So there's a lot of great places to start. Any other suggestions on that one, Danny?
I just think be careful, because everything you just said is good. To make it great, you have to get to the hearts and minds of the individual. You have to understand the story of the person that actually works for you and the depth of their knowledge of what actually keeps them around. Because it's those specifics that when people read it, they're like, huh, that is exactly me. How the hell did they know that? And the reason is because they share in common something with your ideal candidate, which you're trying to attract more of. I'll give you a funny but weird example of this in marketing. You know those signs, especially in the United States, but you see like weight loss signs on the side of the highway? They're all cheesy and they're all terrible and they're all just whatever. But I was always like, to speak to what everybody is thinking about in the depths of their mind, but never actually say, is probably the best type of marketing. And so, like, have you ever felt like after Thanksgiving, your belly rubbing on your belt? And you never said anything to anybody about that, but you felt it before, and it's like, man, I need to lose weight. If there was a sign that just said, "Is your belly rubbing on your belt?" ? Call this number. You know exactly what they're talking about, and they're speaking to the inner language of what's going on in your mind while you're driving back from Thanksgiving, and you're realizing they know something, and it captures your attention. It's those types of sayings and statements and things in marketing that hit the hardest. It's what everyone's thinking about, but nobody really says out loud. And you're going to get that from the people that work for you, that are every day doing things for you it's true to them, that you want to use that language versus like just canned ideas that are out there.
I love that.
All right, then you can use ChatGPT to help craft it better. All right, let's talk training. So I just quick out in the chat, how would you guys currently rate your training out of 10? 10 being it's amazing, it's like, top notch in the entire industry, probably not many people have what we have. 1 being I don't really do training, people just follow me around every day and hopefully they learn their job. So lots of 4s and 5s, 6s, cool. So we're kind of somewhere in the middle. So I'll give you a kind of a 3-step framework to kind of think through how you want to start to develop this type of training for a role. So the first step is to think through the onboarding checklist, right? So what this is essentially a checklist that you or someone on your team uses to check off that they've indeed done all the things that that person needs to be trained in, because it's so easy to miss stuff. And so the first thing I would reference is the employment agreement that we just talked about earlier. Go through all the tasks and responsibilities of that individual and make sure that if it's written there that you're going to hold them accountable to that, that you have a at least bullet point in your checklist that you will indeed show them how to do that. Right. And so every role is going to be different. And the checklist can be, there's universal stuff the whole company is going to have that can be copied and pasted in, but then there's specific stuff to that role that needs to be thought through and bullet pointed out. And it's not just field work. It could be using the CRM or project management software. It could be time clocking. It could be customer service or setup stuff, but what are all the things? And brain dump those out. When you've done that, what you want to build for each bullet point that you have, that's the employment agreement, is a comp model. It's a scoring checklist that the trainer can use to score how someone did on that one element of their role, right? So this can be job site setup, job site cleanup, operating of a certain machine, salting, like whatever it is. There's a 3 or 4 bullet point little like explainer of how to do it properly, and someone can score them on that. So this is used initially during training. So everyone has access to this, the employee and the trainer. And we're just going through it together, saying these are the 4 steps to do this task correctly. They're observing them. And there's not really a ton of scoring going on at that point, but they're observing them, making sure they're doing those steps properly. This is also referenced during daily operations. So whether it's digital or physical, someone has a copy of this at any point can go through the order of operation, essentially, to achieve that one task. And what's really neat is this is also used for evaluations. So after 6 months or a year in your role, I'll come back with the exact same sheet that you were trained on, that you referenced whenever you needed it. And that's how I'm going to gauge success within that task and rate you out of 5 on it and give you some feedback. And now, again, you've got one thing that someone has been trained on, that they've referenced in their daily operations, and they know this is what dictates my ability to maybe even move up the career ladder. And it's all the same thing. It's not, the goalposts don't move. They're introduced to it early on. And if you want to get real fancy, you can take those checklists, so those order of operation bullet points, and turn them into SOPs, or standard operating procedures, or what we call playbooks. Now, this is a big manual. You can see this one's 50 pages long. I don't recommend someone who reads a 50-page manual ever. They'll never take anything from it, and they'll probably really lose faith in your training. But if they can use it as a reference manual or a code book for their job, that's a good reference tool for them, right? If you score them low in certain areas, hey, I just want you to read page 14 again, review the SOP video on this, whatever it is. And actually, these shouldn't be just written. They should be written, picture, and video, right? And then someone can go do that one little element where they need to make an improvement and then narrow on that one area without getting lost in all the things that's in this manual.
And can I just add, so what I recommend with Greenius is take your SOP videos that you're creating and make them part of their learning path in Greenius. So if you had a new hire snow shoveler, add your video so you can create your own custom courses, have them watch your standard operating procedures. You can mix in Greenius standard operating procedures. And then at the end of it, when they complete that learning path, and even with a high turnover position like a shoveler, you know they're going to understand how to dress for the cold conditions so they don't show up in jeans and shoes, or how to eat and survive at 10-hour shoveling shifts. So putting this all together in a learning path will just benefit you in the long run. You're just putting out future fires.
One thing I wanted to just double down on this, like the importance of this. There's a guy, Justin White, letting you guys know Justin popping up on the scene, K&D. They called it their new employees' best first day ever. And they just overwhelm these guys with love and training and education and high fives. And, you know, man, it's good to see you, that kind of a deal. But same thing that we're learning in our company. Imagine that guy's first day. It's not just throw him a shirt, see if he catches it right, throw him out in the field. Hopefully he can learn how to trim and blow or shovel snow. Versus you have an employee orientation, you know, a welcome video, as crude or rudimentary as it is. Like Danny said, an employee checklist. Hey, we got all the proper forms done. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to do a little bit of training here, show you some e-learning videos. And then maybe spend the first half of the day out in the field just observing. Your dead weight, just observing. Next day, 2-3 days, they spend 2-3 hours in the office with you, doing some e-learning, e-training, lawn or snow, doesn't matter. And that way, your crew lead's also not like, dude, why'd you give me the new guy? He's dead weight. You're like, well, that's a you problem now. Like, no wonder, you know, we got 40% turnover in our company. And so we don't want to just like reveal these guys to our team and just let them loose and say, hey, sink or swim. Let's take some responsibility in that hiring process to give the folks an adequate sign up, you know, an adequate add-on. You know, when they're, think about your best job. I'm sure folks held you by the hand and, you know, really trained you well. And your worst jobs, they probably let you sink or swim, right? And for me personally, again, as we go all the way full circle to a scorecard and what good looks like, let's give them the full perspective of what they're signing up for and make sure that it's that best first day ever. So I love all this. I'm all in on the Greenius platform. We're building out our videos now. Matt knows this. I've been having dozens of conversations with him about this. And I really think that's going to be the secret sauce for a lot of the companies that really grow over the next couple of years.
As you're building these out too, and you're touching on this, Brian, but there's a difference between what we call fast tracking, which is essentially the skill development of an individual, and what we call right tracking, which is actually the cultural like amalgamation of them into the company. And so through both. And going back to this thing I said earlier, with employee issues, I always go to this one thought. I always think, is it skill or commitment? If it's skill, I need to do a better job training. If it's commitment, they're not aligned with the company, the values, the culture, and I need to get in there and have a conflict and understand what's going on. And what you're doing during training is the same thing. You're increasing their skill and their commitment to the role. And so fast tracking helps with skill, right tracking helps with commitment.
I like that.
If you guys have not wrote that down, if you're on a mower, hit the PTO and write that down really quick. I know you'll get the replay, but Danny, one more time, take it from the top. I wrote that down as well, but I got the benefit of a laptop in front of me.
Fast tracking is all the skill development. Right tracking is all the like commitment and like personal buy-in to the organization, the role, and the other people in the company, the culture fit.
Danny, let me just press you really quick. Give me your best. You're the guru at this. Give me your best right tracking thing that somebody can do at launch when somebody's just coming in the door, first 48 hours working at the company, whether they're competent or not on the job, we'll train. But how can you? What's your best first approach for somebody walking in that door for right tracking?
We do this right now. We take they have a dinner basically with our entire team. So we take everybody out for dinner. We celebrate that they're on the team. And now, if you have tons of people, maybe you're having a bunch of them all come in to one big dinner. But we are pretty intentional that our team comes and meets in person. We have some drinks together. We share some like an evening together. And yeah, they get a chance to really get outside of the work environment to really meet each other on a personal level and have good chats. So that I will also say our entire team, we send the number of the new person being hired a week in advance before they start, and we all text them.
Love that. Love that. That's awesome.
So
Like
what we do,
family.
and what we do at Granham too is we have what's called Camp Green. So we have a 2-day in-person event for all our new hires from that last cycle, and we actually fly everyone in. We spend 2 days together. We're talking about the company, the culture. We have meals together and we celebrate together, and it's just an awesome kind of culture integration, and it works really well for us.
Love
Bridget,
that.
for every new employee, Bridget, I will say if you're hiring lots of technicians, let's say 5 to 10 of them, and it's a rotating, every couple of weeks, new people are coming in, just pick a monthly team dinner that the new people can come to, that everybody can basically celebrate, the 4 or 5 people that came in together. But at least there's like a connection point for everybody, because otherwise everyone's just busy doing their job every day. And people just shoulder to shoulder see each other, but they don't really talk. It's creating a forcing function for the team to socialize and get integrated together. So, and it could be it doesn't have to be a dinner. It could be over lunchtime. It's like, we're holding the space. Everyone come in and let's do this once a month.
Well, and by the way, guys, so we're getting close to time. We're going to keep this moving, but a lot of great questions here coming on in. And of course, if you always want to learn more, if only Danny had a great academy for folks to learn more about, right? So it's make sure you guys follow him down the rabbit hole as you guys want to learn more about all this stuff. So that's awesome.
All right. A couple things in the chat. So out of everything we talked about defining roles, mathematically calculating requirements, starting to think through the organizational structure, and then setting up employment agreements by role. We then talked about hiring systems, so ideal candidate profiling and building a campaign around that person. Then we talked a little bit about training, onboarding, fast tracking, right tracking, and how to build out a good structure that, once built properly, can actually get your people to success without you constantly repeating what's in your head. Out of those 3, because we probably can't do all 3 tomorrow, which one is the most relevant to you? Which one do you need to kind of focus on the most? What do you guys think? Where's your biggest opportunity? Let us know. What do you think, Brian? What are you taking out of this?
For me, it's building the right hiring system for sure, both on the front end, top of the funnel, and then onboarding and training, I guess would probably be pretty close, or if I had to think about it, they'd probably be, 50-50. We know what the roles are here, at least for the size of our company, but as everybody's commenting, defining roles, okay, onboarding and training. I see a lot of onboarding, number 2 and 3. So yeah, I'm right there with everybody else.
I'll give you one other one just on recruitment. We use active and passive tactics to attract people. Passive tactics are what a lot of us are used to, is like job board postings. Active is actually reaching out to your ideal candidates. The 2 big ones that we do is an annual networking exercise with our team. So we'll throw up our ideal candidate profile, and we'll throw up our job ad that we have. Usually it's hosted on our website. And then everyone messages 100 people each, not to get a job, but if they know anyone that would be a good fit for this role. And they say, hey, so-and-so, our company XYZ is looking for person XYZ role. Curious if you know anybody who'd be a good fit. Please see link below. PS, we're offering $1,000 hiring bonus. If you did know anyone, we'd be happy to split that with you. And they'll send that out to people that they think would be a good fit, people that are good connectors, and people they have a good relationship with. And so everyone sends out 100. So if you have, say, 10, 15 people on the team, that's 1,000 to 1,500 direct messages that your team sends out to their network. And every year we have like an active strategy that's pushing out. And the other thing we'll do is we'll keep all of the resumes we get, we'll grade them out of 10, and then we'll have a dash for the role that they applied for, and then our last communication. I'll save all of those in like a Google Drive or a Dropbox. I'll then sort by rating, and then every year I'll go back to those and email some of the people that didn't get hired for different reasons, the 10s, the 8s, and the 7s, 10s, 9s, 8s, and 7s, and then just re-alert them that we're looking for someone in this role. Do you know anyone? We're offering $1,000 hiring bonus. If you do, they sometimes reply interested or have somebody. So to do a really good job with recruiting, you have to fill your funnel, just like lead gen, and it takes active work versus passive. Anyway, okay. Do you want to move us forward here? So what do we got here? For time, I will probably, well, yeah, I'll skip this. Should we talk about BTA quick and random and get to questions or Greenius? Okay.
Sounds good.
So just quick, guys, this is what we do. We have about 600 contractors actively in our system right now. They work with a coach every 2 weeks. We set goals with the owner. So we hold them accountable to their sales, production, and financial goals, and we track everything with them based on a strategic plan. And then we basically every 2 weeks are meeting with them to problem solve their recruiting issues, their hiring issues, their training issues, their sales and marketing issues, and slowly help them get them to hit their year end. I used to run franchises, like I said, years ago, and we treat you almost as if you're a franchisee of ours, but you never have to buy a franchise. And we're here to support you in that way. We've been doing this for 10 years. This is like just a rough idea of what we see happen over years, but revenue usually grows. Net profit is probably the biggest thing we've watched happen. So you can see Brandon was at a 5% net. He's up to about 16 after a few years with us. The team usually grows as a result of this. We're helping manage all of that. And it's not just about more money. We're really looking at the team's or the owner's time to bring that down to a more stable level. Brandon was more of a lifestyle dude, for those who know him. So he goes 25 hours a week, which is great. And now he's inventing a little app. And he's, for those who know Brandon, he's a pretty cool little entrepreneur. But we started with him way back years ago. Actually, my business partner was the one who called him in Alberta when he first started. But this is kind of the impact that we have on people over the years. So that is us. Yeah, Matthew.
Awesome. So with Greenius, our onboarding specialists help you build a program, right? We just don't show you how to use the software. We actually help you build a meaningful training program that has real impact. So we help you identify key stakeholders, who's going to own what day of the week are you going to do training, what day of the week are you going to do checklists, who's going to run that. We train every stakeholder on their role and how to execute on it. And we basically partner with you to build a meaningful training program. So it's something we really pride ourselves on. All the knowledge comes from helping hundreds of contractors, and we're constantly tweaking the program as we find better ways to make it work. So I just want to call that out, as when you're signing up for Greenius, we're really partnering to have an impact on your business.
And here's the thing I've noticed just years of doing this, like there is almost no rock unturned now for how to run these organizations.
100%.
And there's so much knowledge in the collective of all of us. And so through software, through different leaders, like we've figured it out. Let's just put it that way. So you guys don't have to go and just knock your head against a brick wall trying to figure out what it takes to run and grow an organization, especially in the contracting space. It's, like I run a training company. I wish I could find this for us, right? To look at what we do, it's very few and far between. You guys are blessed to be in the industry. There's a lot of individuals who have figured a lot of this out. And I just encourage all of you, like, instead of spending the weeks, months, or years to do this, plug into some of these systems, plug into some of these people. It saves oodles of time. And there's obvious answers that maybe aren't that impressive sometimes, but they work. And I think that's what matters. So cool.
Awesome.
Anything else you want me to get into here?
Just keep going. We're getting close to time here. So we've covered a lot of the Greenius stuff so far.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll give you guys all some templates today. So that organizational structure example that I set up and showed you guys, we'll give you that. The employment agreement example, it's about an 11-page agreement, but get that template so you can build off of it. A GSR and accountability dashboard, that'll help you track hours. So you can actually start to look at revenue and hours produced and start to build out your plan. Sam, can you check if it doesn't have that in there, that it has the hours tracker? We have one for sales, one for production, and so on. So let's make sure the right one's in there for you guys. And then a training checklist, so you can actually think through how you want to build your training process and program. So you can scan the QR code if you want. I think Sam just put the link in the chat window as well, and that'll give you everything you need. And if you want to chat with us, you'll see a little drop down that allows you to say yay or nay that you want to connect with us or not. So that is the plan.
Awesome. And can you skip to 92 for me? I'll just go through the LMN, this one and the next one. So we have a couple events coming up, so you can just scan that QR code. We're going to be going through a whole snow bidding community acceleration. It's basically a group training session where everyone comes together and learns on various topics, and they've just really taken off. So we're starting to do a lot more of them. So we have a couple coming up, one on snow bidding on November 4th, and we have one on snow operations coming up on November 5th as well. And then on the next slide, if you do want to know more about Greenius or LMN or both products, you can scan these codes and sign up for a demo. We'll send you $100 gas gift card for attending that demo. And we'll also answer all your questions and really help you understand the products better too.
Awesome. All right, we got time for Q&A, 5 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Some great questions came in. First off, if everybody can just spam the chat one more time and say, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Matt. I know there's over 210 people still on here. Don't leave just yet. I got 2 great questions I think will transform your guys' business. But before we wrap up, we'll get into a little bit of housekeeping as we do, but I want to get these 2 questions in while we got about 4 or 5 more minutes with you guys. Don't leave just yet. Check this out. Danny, this one's going to go to you. Chris had a question earlier, Chris Lawrence. He said, Danny, towards the... we went through this pretty quickly during the employee compensation plan for that flow chart. But do you have any suggestions on compensating or bonusing subcontractors, I guess, as it would relate to or pertain to snow removal?
Oh, interesting. So we have subcontractor agreements for subs. You could technically bonus them on completion of projects. I find what's most important with subcontractors, more than like giving them an incentive or a bonus, is having a contracted rate that's agreed upon and having a really good communication process for when things change for them and for you, you know, so that things don't get billed out of sync, so that you're on time, you pay them when you're supposed to, so that they don't overbill you, so that things don't get lost in translation. Probably more than a bonus process, if you really want to have subs be happy with you, pay them on time, make sure there's a lot of structure around what they do and don't do, so that they can make their money the way they need to and protect their cash flow. And it's that process around how that works that I think matters most. A subcontractor agreement, if not properly drawn up yet, is probably a great place to start, where you can set clear expectations of what they need to bring to the equation and what you promise to bring to the equation.
Yeah, love that. Love that. One other quick one here. Jessica Shipper, if I said it correctly, she said, we are struggling to find some of the right seats for some of our longer term employees as we have grown. A lot of folks have been with us for, 5 to 15, 18 plus years. As they've continued to grow and move folks into leadership positions, we've realized that they're not a great fit in those positions. It's been complicated because they have been at the company the longest. Any suggestions or recommendations with these type of employees as you look to promote?
You need to, oh, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, first thing I wanted to just quickly hit on is that's very common. I see it a lot of contractors where you tend to promote the best worker to a leadership position. They're an absolute stud on the equipment. They get all their jobs done. They're super efficient. So let's promote them to a crew leader. But what we find is we skip the step of the soft skill training. So we don't give them the leadership training. We don't teach them how to deal with a difficult employee, how they can actually direct the budget, planning your day, customers count. How do you deal with a difficult customer, right? There's a lot of these soft skills that you just really need to focus on as part of the promoting process. So really what we train on the Greenius side is, okay, if you're going to need crew leaders in the future, start that now. Start a learning path for crew leader leadership and start training all those soft skills now.
I'll say too, you need to interview them. Just like you would interview someone coming in, you need to understand, do they have the natural preferences and abilities to do that role? Because it is a different set of things that are inside of people. So that is leadership. That actually also might be stress management, fundamental, the ability to handle stress in pursuit of a goal. Right. So we have 10 traits we interview on, and there's 3 to 5 for each role that we segment out, but they're very different for a technician than for a crew lead or for a project manager. So as you get into project management, more administrative and organization ability needs to be there. And you need to know that the personality traits of somebody need to match the role, not just the fact that they've done a good job, just like you're saying, Matt, but you need to know what those personality traits are. Right. And so again, ideal candidate profile, define the traits, and then actually interview your internal employee on those things. Do not assume.
There you go. That's solid. That's solid. Folks, look, we're just getting started with this thing. It's day 2. We've got 3 more days to go. There's so much more coming down the pike. We're going to do this really quick. Pivot to our next schedule for the slide for tomorrow. But I just got to say a big thank you to Matt and Danny today. Folks, check out Greenius, check out the Element platform if you haven't. Again, beyond grateful and thankful for them to, for free. Just you guys are getting this awesome resource for no cost that they're putting this all together, and I can't thank them enough. So, do your best to see what makes sense out there for your CRMs and training. But with Element and Greenius, we're all in personally. Brian's Law Maintenance is all in, and we're taking it to the moon. And again, I've seen Danny's folks and himself way before today, and I can't endorse the Breakthrough Academy enough. Those guys are doing the big things. So if you you ever see them popping up at seminars, webinars, conferences all around town, you see the BTA guys in the crest, go over there, give Danny a high five, give the team a high five, and say, heard you on the Snow and Tell webinar. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you do. And check in the chat, a lot of great resources there. As we just kind of land the plane, that was day 2, talking everything about people and training. These guys did such a phenomenal job. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we've got some great folks that are coming online. We've got some returning folks that you guys know, Mr. Jason Drews, and then we also have got Adam and Sarah Linneman. They have a gym and business themselves, I think St. Louis area, if I'm not mistaken, but they also have the Green Executive, their training and consulting. Got to meet Adam and Sarah many times along the way. And actually, I just had a podcast about 2 weeks ago with Adam drop on our podcast. So if you guys are going to be around tomorrow, 2 to 3 p.m., that's tomorrow's conversation, snow equipment and labor plan. Don't miss it. We'd love to see you guys there. Set a note in your calendar. Make sure you guys click the calendar reminder and invite so you're locked in, and same time, place tomorrow. So that's where I'll land the plane. Matt, Danny, any final thoughts? But I just want to say thanks again, guys, for joining us this afternoon.
I just want to thank everybody for attending. I know how valuable your time is, and to share an hour with me, I'm extremely grateful to all of you. So thank you.
There you go, Danny.
Just on the note of time, something to do, maybe get your phone when you're done this webinar and calculate the amount of time you manage in a week. Number of people times 40 hours a week per person. And you'll realize that your time is best spent on a lot of things we've talked about today. Because I know that what happens is you leave this webinar with a lot of ideas, and then you get busy with the day-to-day. I challenge all of you to spend 5 hours a week working on the business. Doesn't have to be more, doesn't have to be less. A lot of our members, it's 5 hours a week, and that's slow iteration over time. So pick one thing from today and put 5 hours into it, allocate it for next week, and realize that if you're commanding hundreds of hours a week, some of you thousands of hours a week, your 40 to 80 hours a week of doing some of their job is not going to move the needle anymore. You need to be working on the stuff that we talked about today, not just learning about it. So
audit transfer Phil, brother. That's right. That's awesome. Good stuff. All right, cool deal. Well, guys, that's where we're going to land the plane today. We know that you guys are all getting back to getting the rest of the mow routes done, getting the crews back in here in the next hour or two. So thank you guys for taking your time to be with us as well. The feeling's mutual. We love you guys. Lots of love back to everybody. The chat. Thank you guys so much for making that a fun conversation. Thanks for all the questions. And we look forward to seeing with all of you guys back here tomorrow on Wednesday. All right, guys. Over and out. Have a great night. We look forward to catching up with everybody on the next one. See you guys.
Thanks.